I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
if Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video. Fuck YouTube.
So we posted a poll on October 11th that we are going to cover. And the question in the poll was, do you support DC films? Do you still support DC films?
There's been a long building momentum of people feeling like DC has turned their back on them. And I have a little bit of a small list here that I think would probably be on the top of the shit list for the DC fan. Snyder being fired and his daughter being used as a PR stunt. Justice League Blu-ray, including 2 whole extra scenes. The Wall Street Journal article. Nothing mentioned about the Snyder Cut at San Diego Comic-Con. Ben Affleck leaving the Batman. Ben Affleck no longer being in the DCEU. Henry Cavill supposedly leaving Superman. Then we have no mention of Man of Steel 2. And the coup de grace, James Gunn writing Suicide Squad 2.
And just look how happy he is.
Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. No.
That's just a very, very short list, and I've seen way more complaints, but those are some of the things that I've seen recently, and not so recently, just getting on people's nerves, kind of almost tipping points for them on whether or not they will continue to support the DCEU or DC films in general.
So the poll that we posted, do you still support DC films? As we mentioned, this poll is going to be used in a future episode. Here we are. 54% rated yes, 33% unsure. That's very telling. 13% no. With a final tally of 634 whopping votes, that blew me away. I was like, holy shit, are we going to get enough, was my question to Matt. And here we are. So appreciate it.
Honestly, I would have liked it to go the other way, where we only had 5. So the percentage would have been ridiculous and shit. It would have been like 89% for one. And anyway, but yeah, 600 votes and only $290. Thank you for all the retweets and everything.
Thanks. Yeah, that was pretty cool. 23 retweets. That's pretty awesome.
I was actually a little surprised by this. I really thought Unsure was going to be the leading one, and it kind of was there for a while. It was definitely leading the pack, and then Yes came in with a flurry, which was is a tad bit surprising because it just shows that what you see on Twitter isn't usually the people that are going to comment. Because, you know, the people that voted in our poll, they may never even comment on Twitter. They just may read. So it's telling, and it's interesting as well.
It's kind of the epitome of vocal minority right there. You can tell that there's a lot of people who, which we're going to get into, who are like, no, F this. Even some of the tweets that we had commented on the poll, people were like, support? No more support for WB. You know, like just flat out, nope, fuck them. I'm moving on.
A lot were case-by-case basis, depending on what's going on. What are they producing? They'll still continue to support them. Some, like Shane said, were no Snyder Cut, no support. And basically kind of left this a little vague for a reason, was that when you talk about the DCEU and Warner Brothers and stuff, I didn't want to try to make it, I tried to make it DC films, you know, and the films that DC produces, the DC branded films, is what I was trying to get at. And
so the Joker, obviously, being included in that.
Yeah, because the DCEU is, the Joker's not in that. So if I said DCEU, I was just trying to like make it to the fact of any movie that the DC puts out, DC kind of franchise puts out, would you support it still? And some people were like, I'm still upset about the Snyder Cut, or I'm upset with this situation. I'll continue to support them, but you know, it may not last much longer. And I think those are the unsure people. So it was a very interesting comment section. It's cool to see the progress that people make on how they feel anyway. It's cool to see this interaction and this idea, what's really going on in the world of DC films, or the fandom of DC films.
It's also kind of surprising. Some of these tweets, you know, like the one I mentioned earlier was from at Andy Grail, where he says no more support for WB, but still watch the movies that interest me. They've lost my benefit of the doubt. Totally understand that. Then you have someone, this is probably one of my favorite ones, JT Savoy, at Always Video, says, personally, I'll watch films case by case, but knowing what's going down with Snyder and Ayers and now Gavo, my respect for the DC wing of Without Balls.
He's probably referring to this. He's referring to the Suicide Squad 2 director that got replaced. The writer,
okay.
I believe that's
okay, yep. I think you're right. My respect for the DC of Without Balls, WB, has nosedived. JG on SS2 is a non-starter, and no chance I give John's GL a peek, but I love DC characters. That's forever.
A lot of people ask why. Why treat the customer this way? Why? Because fuck them, that's why.
Personally, for me, I'm not going to speak for Shane on this, but for me, it kind of doesn't really change too much of the situation for me, because as much as some outside people might be like, oh yeah, you guys are DC fanboys. Yeah, we like DC. I grew up with DC comics. I haven't ever really read any Marvel comics, to be honest. Really doing the show, I've read more Marvel comics doing this show than I ever did before. So
yeah, yep, same here.
And I grew up with DC animated shows, comics, and DC movies in general. Now, I mean, when it came to Spider-Man and X-Men, that was some of my favorite animated shows as well, but that was just the cartoons. That's nothing much. But for me, it's always been, I just really like good comic book movies. And the genre thing never really mattered to me too much, Marvel and DC. To be honest, the first superhero movie that really got me engaged in superhero movies and wanted to see more was Blade. And that's a Marvel movie. So when I first saw Blade, when it came out, I was like, this is like fucking awesome comic book superhero shit right here. That's kind of where my sense is anyway. I like the more rated R type movies. And that's where it kind of snowballed for me, the more grounded, gritty type movies is with Blade. I didn't mind the X-Men movies. They were okay. I didn't mind the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. 1 and 2 were pretty solid. But for me, it's always been like Blade, the Nolan Batman series, even that Constantine DC movie, things like that. The first Iron Man, I think, is more grounded and gritty. And even though it may not be like hardcore, I feel like it's a much more relatable and better paced movie. So that's kind of how it's always been for me. I've never really felt the urge to go for one side or the other. The thing is people think that we're hate on Marvel is because, in my opinion, and people don't seem to get this, we're just realistic on Marvel.
Yeah.
I just don't think we have blinders on, just like we don't have blinders when it comes to DC either. We will talk shit about a DC movie if we think it sucks. Just look at our Suicide Squad review. Just look at our Justice League review. I mean, we talked about them. We didn't like them. End of story. And the same thing with Marvel. And I think that's kind of where it is. It's like, you got to be a fanboy when you really just objectively look at the movie and you're like, yeah, that's the same shit we've seen 100 times already in this universe. I don't know why people think all of a sudden this movie is revolutionary.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in line with exactly what you said. The frustrating part as far as moving forward and supporting DC versus not supporting DC is it all kind of revolves around the bar being raised so damn high at this point, where I want to continue to support DC and what they're putting out because it still has some resemblance of what Snyder had laid the foundation for. Maybe veering off a little bit further. I guess the frustrating part is where, because we have seen what comic book movies now can be with Man of Steel, with BVS, with Iron Man. I would say Winter Soldier. I would put up there as well. Not the greatest movie, but some of the coolest emotional scenes in Spider-Man Homecoming. There have been some top tier movies, and I'm not saying Spider-Man Homecoming is a top tier movie, but there have been some moments and some movies that are so high up there where what I fear is that DC is just going to fall into this comfort zone, similar to some of the movies that you had mentioned in an X-Men, in some of kind of somewhat of like Batman Begins, sort of, but kind of like this just very safe comfort zone of like, yeah, this is kind of where we play, not blowing anyone out of the water, not trying to push the envelope at all. And that's where my frustration lies. I will continue to see these movies. I will continue to see what they do. Snyder is still a part of them, which I'm excited for. But that's ultimately where my frustration lies.
Yeah, I think the DC fanboy thing really comes down. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm just throwing out a guess here, but I'm pretty sure it is. But when you look at like the top 5 favorite comic book movies for Shane and I, it just so happens that one of the DC films, the most recent DC films, is probably one of the highest ones on the list, and that'd be Man of Steel.
Yep.
And then the Batman vs Superman Ultimate Edition is probably not too far behind.
You were talking about earlier with Blade being so impactful for you. For me, it was Man of Steel. That was the movie where, and I think it's probably because of my connection with the Superman character, but where I could see Superman in a completely different light and go, holy shit, like this story is being told so differently from what I was expecting, and in a good way. And that's where I was like, okay, this is what I want to see more of. Movies like this. Then we've gotten 1, 2, maybe.
Yeah, that's the kind of situation that Shane and I are in. I mean, what we do is we don't defend a universe necessarily. We defend our beliefs.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a religious thing, so don't take it that way. But it's
all hail Lord Snyder.
We're not worthy. But it's just what when we see something, it's how we objectively look at it and be like, this makes more sense than you think. They do this, they do that. It's all there. And it's just the debatable nature of comic book movies and hell, comic books in general, really. For us, it really hasn't changed too much. Is my enthusiasm for the DC universe kind of simmered down? Yeah. I don't see too much, maybe other than the fact of New Gods, which actually finally, Eva DuVernay, I believe. DuVernay, I don't know exactly her name, but how to pronounce her name. She finally started posting some New God stuff on her Twitter instead of political shit. So now she's finally getting into shit she's finally talking about the shit that matters, not that political shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so she finally started posting some New God stuff. So that one does intrigue me, but who the fuck knows when that one's coming down the line? Is there a line of movies that I really want to see? I want to see Aquaman. I want to see Shazam. I want to see Wonder Woman 84. I want to see them, but that's about it. There's no fucking real passion for me. I want to see Glass. I want to see the Hellboy reboot. I want to see Spawn. Those are the ones I'm like, hell yeah, I can't wait for that. I can't wait for those ones to come out. Those are the movies that got my intrigue. I can't for New Mutants as well, and even a little bit of Dark Phoenix. Maybe not so much after that trailer, but but it's there. Those are the movies that are in the lead for me, not DC movies. So we've looked through a bunch of tweets, and there's right now currently a hashtag going around called hashtag Boycott WB. And I've seen a lot of this in our comment section. A lot of people angry about the shit that WB/DC have pulled off. Some individuals as well, like Toby Emmerich, Kevin Tsujihara, Walter Hamada, a lot of these individuals that are at the helm of a lot of this stuff that people feel are responsible for the lack of originality in some of these trailers that we're seeing for Aquaman, and also the future movies that are coming out like Birds of Prey and stuff like that. This lack of originality and just playing it safe, as Shane was talking about. So we have one here responding to like an article that WB Pictures deliberately cut the best parts of Justice League for use in future movies, kind of talking about that Cyborg issue that's been perplexing some people about. They took a lot of the Cyborg stuff out so they can use it in a possible Cyborg movie in the future. And this person put, if true, all the more reason to hashtag Boycott WB. Another one here, you are the sheep giving your money, 3 money symbols, for the company that clearly has no idea or clue about what fans want. You are a pathetic moron lapping out turds from WB.
Well, that was awkward.
Yes, it was.
Here's another one. Well, that's fucking depressing. At WB Pictures using the footage for another movie instead of doing the right thing and release the Snyder Cut. So then we have another one. I will tweet hashtag Boycott DCEU till the day they will announce the Snyder Cut. This boycott movement has just begun. And that was in response to Marvel actors literally fought Disney to support a guy making pedophile jokes, but DCEU folks can't help the fan movement to release the Snyder Cut.
Another one. Let's keep retweeting this and keeping it going with hashtags hashtag Cavill Superman, hashtag boycotts WB, at WB Pictures. I'm done with WB/DC.
The next one, what a ridiculous campaign. Let's boycott DC films about our favorite characters because of what happened to Justice League. Pathetic. This one is in response to Hollywood Reporter statement from Warner Brothers. While no decisions have been made regarding an upcoming Superman film, we've always had a great respect and a great relationship with Henry Cavill, and that remains unchanged. This was the news regarding Henry Cavill and his future as Superman. Edwin the Ace says, fuck you, Warner Brothers. You destroyed something great in the DCEU. You robbed us of Zack's vision for Justice League, and now you have taken away the best Superman ever, only to go pander to the SJW crowd. I'm done with you, and I'm urging people to boycott all your movies. Hashtag boycott WB.
One directly at James Wan here, at Creepy Puppet. Sorry, James, your movie will be the first DCEU movie I won't see in theater and won't be supporting it at all. You guy, and I guess he means guys, but you guy and WB keep screwing your fandom over bloggers and sites for reviews. You keep your bloggers because WB screwed fans at every turn. Hashtag boycott DCEU. So yeah, we have a couple here that are against the boycott WB type thing. I mean, another guy here. I mean, for me, hashtag release the Snyder Cut is about getting great films and giving films a chance to be seen as intended. Even if I hate hashtag Aquaman, after watching it, I have to give the film a chance for itself. For Juan and for Snyder, Aquaman is having a movie because of Snyder. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here. We have a lot of disenfranchised individuals in the fandom, people that don't feel that WB has given them what they want and when it comes to these movies. Again, like we said, it doesn't really change much for Shane and I, but these are things to kind of think about. I get what people are talking about when they say, you know, you're just feeding the machine if you go and support these movies and stuff. Mm-hmm. If Aquaman does well, you're showing that, hey, these copycat these copycat Marvel movies are what they need to do. We don't even know what the movie's going to be like, but just basing it off some trailers, people are upset with it, and they just assume that it's going to be another soft Marvel type movie instead of something more grittier and a little bit more like the Snyderverse a little bit. I mean, it really comes down to the fact that if you're fans of a comic book movie, you just go see it. There's no, I don't know why everybody's got to be so goddamn tribal. This tribe shit is getting ridiculous. I personally just can't take it much more. It just drives me nuts. People just need to relax. And if you want to go see the movie, go see the movie. If you don't want to go see the movie, then don't go to see the movie. And it's the same fucking shit. You know, you're not going to see it. There's somebody else that's going to go take their family. It's just, it's not going to really change much, because guess what? The fandom on Twitter is a very small minority, and it's not as big as the casual fan. And as much as people may not like the casual fan is the one that drives the box office. And as long as the casual fan enjoys it, that's what's going to drive the box office. And unfortunately, when it comes to WB, that's what's going to motivate them, is box office numbers. They've shown that already. So if you like comic books and you like comic movies, I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, just to continue to play devil's advocate a little bit, I absolutely can see where a lot of these folks are coming from. I understand it. I agree with them to a large extent, I guess. I understand the frustration with Snyder Cut, the frustration with what we got with Justice League. I understand that they're tired of being disrespected, and the opinions of us, starting from Batman v Superman, and then rolling into Suicide Squad, and then with Justice League. You know, with Batman v Superman, we got just the theatrical cut, which to me was super detrimental. Everything is just frustrating when we've been behind and supporting what WB and what Zack Snyder was doing this entire time. It's frustrating to see the direction that they're going. However, the other side of that, as Matt said, we do not want this phase of comic book movies to fade out. We don't want the comic book movie fatigue to set in to where people are just like, forget it, I'm done. You know, maybe like the debatable Star Wars fatigue. We want this to continue. We want other companies. We want Glass, you know, the sequel to that. You know, we want the M. Night Shyamalan universe to continue to grow. All these things.
Monster universe.
And yeah, yep, exactly. The monster universe. All these different things that have been established because of these type of movies. That's what we want to continue to grow. We want to continue to support that movement. I totally understand the frustration of like, fuck you guys, especially when it came to Henry Cavill. I was like, if you let him go, then holy shit, you guys are a bunch of morons.
Yeah, that was a big one.
But at the same time,
if you know what I mean.
At the same time, we want to still continue to support Zack Snyder and what he has established, and you know, make the opinions known to an extent. But at the same time, it's like, as Matt said, what is it really going to do? If they haven't listened to us now, do you really think they're going to listen moving forward? What they're going to listen to is box office numbers, you know, and maybe the fucking Rotten Tomatoes review ultimately. But I think if we continue to be vocal and continue to support and continue to kind of push the Snyder movement as we have, then I think we'll be successful. We can see that released. And then maybe down the road, we see Snyder pick up another DC movie in the future.
Yeah, the Cavill thing is a big one. I can see a lot of people being disenfranchised by that. That was probably the moment when I started seeing the hashtag fuck WB. I never saw that before that. I was like, wow, they just like made a hashtag trending on one thing. And then the James Gunn thing I thought was kind of interesting. Again, sloppy seconds. I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know if anybody else had the same reaction I did to that. I mean, and my feeling was more of, I felt like they hired him because he's critic proof. That was my initial reaction, was because like all these critics just love him so much. And if his name is slapped on that movie, and they, you know, so many people were just trying to defend the shit out of him about all that crap that was going on before. I felt like, man, if he writes this and even possibly directs it, Suicide Squad 2 is going to get like a 90%, because he's damn near critic proof, because people aren't going to objectively look at the movie with him behind the helm. They're going to be like, see, this is what Marvel's missing out on when they fired him, because look what he just did with the DCU. He just saved it, or something like that. That's how I looked at it. And everybody else is looking at it in a different direction. But I just thought it was kind of funny. Again, sloppy seconds by DC. Awesome shit. But those two are probably the big ones. Another thing that could get fans really riled up, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, is the leaks that we continue to get about what could have been in the Snyder Cut. Now, recently, Screen Rant and DC Film Hub, they did a little bit of investigating. We got this picture showing what Zack Snyder sent out of a Gal Gadot looking at a mural, and now they've showed what that mural was, and it's just artwork showing that history scene that we got very little of in the actual theatrical cut. And it's just leading to a bunch of speculation. And of course, there's the one figure right in the middle. Everybody's assuming it's Darkseid. There's some concept art that's leaked out showing Darkseid as well. And we're missing out on a possible Darkseid versus Ares fight that could have happened in the flashback, the little history lesson we got of the mother boxes. So it sounds like this was supposed to be one epic train ride that we were supposed to get, and I could just see so many people getting frustrated.
These fucking assholes, these fucking assholes! The fuck is their problem, man?
And in kind of a small response to some of this bullshit going on, I saw a tweet put out by Fiona, and her tweet saying, I think the newest evidence / news only show WB don't give a damn about their own fans. The only alliance they have got who fought for their franchises / profits / reputation for years, they learned nothing from Justice League. It's very, very telling. But there's this thing going on right now with the fandoms. Every fandom, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, My Little Pony, all these fandoms, where people are just getting tribal, man. And we got to stop this tribal shit, man. You can't live in the dirt like that. It's just too tribal right now. And DC fans, man, I used to think that when people were talking about how DC fandom was toxic, I was like, you're just being dumb. And I'm not saying the DC fandom is toxic, but it is kind of like I'm seeing more and more people just being so tribal about it. And I get it, knee-jerk reaction, because the DC universe has been shit on so much for the past couple years, and it was really unwarranted, a lot of it. And I get the knee-jerk reaction, but come on. I mean, we gotta stop pushing so hard, and anybody that just has a different opinion than you, to yell them down, to totally try to just call them names and not actually have a reasonable discussion with them is gonna really just isolate you and the people that join you in that. When it comes to the fandom in general, people have also got to distinguish who to actually die on a hill for when you're going to have an argument or a disagreement with them. When you have people that are clearly wanting the Snyder Cut, but they have maybe just a little bit of a difference of opinion than you, it's not the end of the world, and it's not something to be a smartass about. The writer for Screen Rant, Stephen Colbert, he's clearly been pro Snyder Cut from the beginning, and he's done article after article, positive note after positive note on several different things revolving about Snyder, Batman vs. Superman. Him and Andrew Dice, both of those guys on Screen Rant, have done positive work. Stephen Colbert recently made a comment, or a tweet anyway, just kind of, poking a little fun at the Snyder Cut movement and their phoning in or phone calls to WB Pictures for the hashtag release the Snyder Cut. His tweet saying, "This Snyder Cut call campaign is about to convince WB that there are 40 people that really want the Snyder Cut." What he's talking about is the way they're constructing it, the time frame and everything, the hourly calls and everything, and they have to screen people, so it limits it down. They're trying to keep the weirdos out. But in this tweet, in this thread, I see people kind of attacking him a little bit. I mean, some people having discussions with him, but some people giving him kind of smart-ass answers, telling him not to be a smart-ass about it. It doesn't help. When I'm reading this, all I can think of is this.
But he is not our enemy.
And I feel like a lot of people in that thread are thinking like this.
We believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy. We have to take it as an absolute certainty.
So again, no need to attack the person, the individual that is on our side.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
I mean, the Diane Nelson thing, I don't know exactly what happened. I don't think really nobody does, because we never got to see any tweet.
Yeah.
We never got to see any tweets. It's all hearsay. It's just what people said did happen, but we got no tweets, we got no look. But even if it did happen, it just shows, again, people attacking the wrong person. And it really shouldn't be attacking at all. I mean, what does that prove? You made her leave Twitter. I don't think anybody even knew she was on Twitter until then. It's going to isolate a lot of people. You're going to pull a lot of people away. I mean, James Mangold tweeted out, "At the point when work, writing, and directing big franchises have become the emotionally loaded equivalent to writing a new chapter of the Bible with probable damage of being stoned and called a blasphemer, then a lot of bolder minds are gonna leave these films to hacks and corporate boards."
Jordan fades back, swoosh, and that's the game!
If you keep tearing down individuals for their opinions or what they do, if you really, I mean, some people want Walter Hamada to get a Twitter so they can basically spam him, release the Snyder Cut. I mean, come on. Come on. You're eventually people are, this is what we're going to get. If you keep doing this to individuals, this is what we're going to get. We're going to get a bunch of people that are just going to follow the corporate board. And as Snyder said this.
And the thing that's amazing is Chris is been an amazing producer on the movie, because he, I think because, he said to me, he goes, "Zach, Hollywood makes two kinds of movies. They make movies by committee and they make filmmaker movies." And he goes, "I'm really not interested in these like movies by committee. They suck." And, he's like, the best movies, my favorite movies are, where you can feel the personality of the director, and it's all about that.
And if you don't give people a chance to make possibly an awesome movie, and if you don't give these movies a chance, you're going to get corporate board movies. You're going to get a bunch of fucking people arguing about dumb shit, and it's going to come out with the most generic movies we've ever seen. So you got to give people a chance. And I'm just going to kind of end it with this little quote here. Beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. For when you gaze long into the abyss gazes also into you. Friedrich Nietzsche.
Now he's a philosophizer.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. You know, all these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.
Yo!